Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, this is brought to you powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Sunday evening, you guys. Got a lot to talk about here in the world of sports. We missed last week, but we're back this week better than ever. Guys, all the teams in the NFL out of the state of Florida won. We're going to talk about that, get into what happened with that weird Jaguars-Titans game, guys. And then, of course, we're going to travel down to college football sports, guys, along with the NBA, college basketball as well. We'll wrap things up with the NHL, and we will talk about what's going on with the Bolts and the Panthers and how they seem to return to form so far over the last couple of games, guys. All that and more on this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio, so keep it locked here for all of your Florida sports needs. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and this is IE Sports Radio, brought to you by this Palm Tree Sports Radio. My apologies, brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Again, happy Sunday evening, you guys. I'm glad to have you here. We're going to talk all things in the world of sports coming out of the Sunshine State. I just want to say, first and foremost, I do apologize if I clear my throat a couple of times. So down here in Florida, we've had the cool weather switch into the warm, back into the cool, and now we're kind of in the middle. It was about 75 degrees earlier today, so I'm kind of adjusting still. So if I clear my throat, I apologize, you guys. But speaking of 75 degrees and wonderful weather, Tampa Bay played today. They played the Raiders. Shout out to Larry. I know you're a Raiders guy, and this game was a complete mess. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the Jaguars and their very weird victory against the Titans today. We're also going to talk about Miami and how they were able to edge it out against the Jets in a very close game. We have college football still to discuss since we did miss last week. Again, I do apologize for that, but we are back and we are going to discuss it. We're not going to spend too much time on FSU, pretty much just because that's who the Gators played last week. So we'll talk about what happened with that game. We'll talk about Miami and what happened in their game and where they're going to be headed to next as far as a bowl is concerned, because, of course, they're bowl eligible, so are the Gators. And then, of course, we will go into the NBA. We'll talk about what's going on with the Heat and Magic. We will talk college basketball with the Gators, Knowles, and Canes, and wrap things up with Bolts and Panthers as far as hockey is concerned, guys. So we do have quite a bit to discuss this evening. I can't wait to get into it. But first things first, guys, let's go ahead and talk about where you guys can follow us at. So if you guys are on your social medias, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, or now known as X, if you're on Facebook, wherever you're at for your social media, feel free to follow us at IE Sports Radio. That is at IE Sports Radio. That is the hub for all the shows as far as the social medias are concerned. And then, of course, wherever you get your podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, that's what I use, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can follow us on IE Sports Radio on all of those podcast locations as well. Now, for the show Palm Tree, it's going to be Palmtree_IE, guys. That is the specific handle for this show that you're listening to right now. So if you follow us, on IE Sports Radio, you guys can also find my show Palmtree_IE and follow us there as well, guys. So that's going to be it for our socials. And guys, we do have obviously a message from our sponsors. Without our sponsors, this wouldn't be the same. And our sponsors this evening are Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole nother planet. That's beef jerky, of course, for those of you who are concerned with the contents. And then, of course, Seal the Deal wax seals by our very own Cecilia B. An amazing job she does with those. So let's go ahead and get into that quick, message from our sponsors. And then when we get back, we'll dive into the show this evening, guys.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Ladies and gentlemen, I have on the blue and orange because it's always great to be a Florida Gator. But as always, we're going to kick things off with the NFL. But before we do that, I would love to go over to the chat and see what we got going on today, see who's in the building. So first things first, Dad, always a pleasure to see you. I love you, old man. Good to have you here. That's correct. Great Florida. Great day to be a Florida Gator, guys. So, we're living the dream over here in blue and orange right now. The future's looking very bright for us on both sides of football and basketball. Super excited to bring to you the information I have as far as that is concerned right now, especially as we move on into the middle portion of the NCAA Open part of the season before we get into March Madness, of course, next year, where it's really important to see how these teams look, just to kind of see what that skeletal system for these teams look like. And of course, there are some teams that we thought were going to be looking a lot better than they are right now that aren't, and some teams that are looking better than we thought that they would this early in the season. So that's something I'm super excited to be about. T-Rod in the building. Always glad to have you here, brother. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next week with both of our teams. I love both of these teams, that the Chargers and the Buccaneers. So that's going to be a very fun game to watch next week. Both these teams struggling a little bit, but still finding a way to get it done. And I think that's what's going to make this game very, very interesting and a fun game. So you were thinking the same thing I was thinking, T-Rod. Yep, same exact thinking that I had. And so, yeah, just super excited to talk about that and to get into the details that I have for you this evening. So now that we've had a look at the chat, guys, let's go ahead and get it started. And let's talk about what happened today down in Tampa Bay, right? So I'm saying down in Tampa Bay like I don't live here. The Buccaneers hosted the Raiders. And this is always an interesting game because the Raiders, if we take away football context, for example, are nothing more than pirates but on land, right? So Pirates are on the sea, Raiders are on land. For those of you who may have played the game Fable before, the Lost Chapter, older PC game back in the day, that's kind of how the game starts, actually. Raiders raid your homeland. So that's where I always kind of brought those two together and associated them one and the same. However, this is a battle of the East Coast versus the West Coast as well, right? With Florida and California on the maps respectively. Vegas, I should say. It used to be Oakland, but now it's Vegas, right? So, but yeah, this game went very interesting. It started off like the Buccaneers were just on fire, right? They opened the gate, 14 zip, scoring first two possessions. And then out of nowhere, Baker throws an interception, right? And it was very athletic interception, defensively speaking. So it was very interesting to see that. Albeit that the game did get very weird in the second quarter, the score of this game was 28-13 Buccaneers victory. So you ask yourself, how did that happen, right? How do we go from 14 points in the first quarter, to a very close game in the second quarter with a couple of turnovers by the Buccaneers, and then obviously the Buccaneers late in the fourth decide to pull away after taking care of the football for a change and also running effectively. I think that would be the key takeaway from that late pull away that the Buccaneers had. But what happened in that second period is what I would like to address right now. So Baker threw an interception. That first interception was just athletic, guys in the right place at the right time. I'm not going to really put that on Baker. Of course, there might have been another read to make or just maybe tuck the ball and just run. But the thing is, it's a screen pass, right? So on a screen pass, there's not a whole lot you can do as the quarterback. You have to get the ball to whoever the receiver is or the running back is who's going to perform the screen. At that point, it's just all about execution. And obviously, somebody did their homework and read the play beautifully and made a great interception. There was very athletic interception, like I said, but I'm not going to put that on Baker. The fumble and the second interception, I am going to put on him. I'm going to say, Baker, you gotta calm down a little bit because there's a little bit of a force, if you will. And when I mean a force, I mean on that second interception, you kind of force the ball in a very dangerous area. You're talking about a crowded end zone where there's 3 defenders to 2 receivers. And that's one of those things where you look at that and you say, yeah, Baker, I want to see you tuck that. I want to see you put that ball into your arm and kind of just run with it instead. Get 2 yards, 3 yards, whatever. I don't care. Just turn it into a positive play, but don't turn the ball over. The fumble is quarterbacks fumble like that all the time. But at the same time, I still hold Baker accountable. The reason for my saying this is that the Raiders were 2-10. There's no reason why this game was supposed to be close. I understand this Raiders team looked a lot better than maybe they are on paper. But realistically speaking, where Tampa Bay is at with the recipe that they've been able to design, especially when running the ball effectively, there was just no excuse for it. I was kind of screaming at the TV earlier today watching the game saying, come on, guys, just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Why are we not running the ball? The big reason for that is Bucky Irving actually got injured. So that's also something else I want to talk about. But before I can do that, Baker Mayfield goes 18 of 29, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions obviously hurt. But the Buccaneers defense, bend but break yet again. I don't really like the bending but not breaking so much. I would like for us to put on some defensive dominant performances, but it's hard to do that when you're not healthy, right? And we haven't been really healthy since that Lions game, and I would say that was the last time we were really healthy enough to compete at the highest level that we can. With many injuries to linebackers, with cornerbacks out, and of course a couple of safeties out, it's just there's a lot of shuffling with defensive personnel going on, but I make no excuses for this defense. Todd Bowles is supposed to be a defensive genius, and there were times today where his defense just broke down and gave up easy plays, but there are also times where the defense made tremendous plays as well, including I believe we had 3 interceptions with 2 interceptions and a fumble. We had 3 takeaways today, and so that was good. But as far as the rest of the game is concerned, I just think that we got away from running the ball. We should have ran the ball more. And when we did start to run the ball more, you guys saw Sean Tucker break a decent run. And then, of course, Rashad White had a couple of decent runs as well. He got in the end zone twice, almost got 100 yards. He had 107 all-purpose yards, actually. So, but I think it was like 66 on the ground, 60, 70 yards on the ground, something like that. So, good day from him, but the injuries definitely hurt. Antoine Winfield Jr. got hurt as well. His is a knee injury. We're not sure on that, but he did not return to the ball game. Tough injury right there. Tough injury right there. One of the best safeties in the league. One of the best guys, been doing it since his rookie season, So that's frustrating. All of that being said, Buccaneers move into first place, a full game ahead of Atlanta. Now that Atlanta has dropped their game against Minnesota, the Buccaneers now control their own destiny. If they win out, they win the division. That's pretty much it, So Buccaneers got to put your hard hat on, put your underwear on, and we're going to have to go out there and we're going to have to play some really, really good football. And it's going to start with the offense. Baker, you got to settle down. Stop with the sniffing salts. I've consulted a medical personnel on it, and they say it's not good for you, so you should probably stop, bro. Like, I love the fact that you're jacked, bro, that you're just wired that way. But let's do it a little more naturally, right? Because that can't be helping you at all. Just a side note. But again, the next game is going to be against the Chargers. That's going to be Sunday, December 15th. Happy birthday, Dad. 4:25 p.m. I'm looking forward to that game. Like I said, these two teams that are struggling, but have some absolute dogs and gunslingers at quarterback. A lot of talent around the quarterback. Buccaneers dealing with a ton of injuries right now, so that's a frustrating thing. But aside from that, again, this should still make for a great game. Chargers are rocking an 8-4 record. They're hanging in the playoff picture over on the West Coast. So this game's going to say a lot about both of these teams, and I can't wait to see what happens. And hopefully, it turns out into a Bucs W. T-Rod, my man, I'm sorry to say that, but of course, we got to win out. It is what it is, and if I believe that the Chargers also are in a position where they have a chance to make it, and they just have to continue to play well as well. So, we're going to see what happens with that game. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and I can't wait to see, what takes place over there. So, moving on along, though, the Jaguars played football today, and they won today. Okay, so that's not something we've been able to say very often this year. This is only the third time this year that we're actually able to say that, and they're also doing it without Sunshine, aka Trevor Lawrence. For those of you who watch Remember the Titans, you should get that reference. And it's a respectful one. I promise it's respectful. Okay. But the Jaguars 3-10 beat the 3-10 Titans today. Obviously the Jags were 2-10 before that victory. So 10-6 is the baseball score for that game. If you want to call it a game, it seemed more like a really messed up scrimmage between varsity and junior varsity players of a really bad high school. I couldn't articulate what happened to you in this game. I watched a little bit of it. We were flipping back between that one and the Bucs game at one point, but I have to admit, I don't know what was going on with that game. It was a very, very chaotic, mess-filled extravaganza, I think. It seemed like the type of game that you would have expected from, honestly, it was a baseball game. It was a baseball game. It was a baseball game in the NFL. That's the only way I know how to say. I can't even articulate. I'm trying. Normally, I'm good with words. Not today, guys. Not today. I don't have a good one for that. So, Mac Jones, for reference, guys. Mac Jones goes 23 of 31, 220 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And they won. So, the game basically just came down to who could make more errors at the right time. And unfortunately, it was the Titans. Will Levis didn't do much. I think he was so many completions for 130 something yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So both of these teams just bombed it. It was atrocious to watch these two teams. There's not too much more to say outside of that. Jaguars were holding on to the number 1 pick in the draft as it stood before that game was played. Right now, I believe obviously the Titans would move into that role now if the Jaguars have the latter win to their name, and that just shake things up a little bit more too as well. More power to whoever gets the number 1 overall draft pick. They both need it. It doesn't matter. Hopefully they draft tremendous, and we don't have to have this discussion next year because, again, this is not what we thought we would see the Jaguars mere week 14. That's the only way I know how to describe what we're seeing right now. And the Titans, I'm pretty sure they feel the same way. The only thing is they get to say if they have a rookie at quarterback. So, and I'm a fan of rookies making mistakes. I don't know about you guys and your opinions. If you have one, throw it in the chat. Let me know. But I think that quarterbacks should, especially young quarterbacks, first, second years, should have the ability to just completely screw it up and have a chance to claw back out of it. And the reason why is because that develops character. You're not going to be able to do that, obviously, if you don't experience adversity, right? So that's my viewpoint on that. And I think that the Titans will be better because of it, but they have to stick with their guy, and that's Will Levis. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see that, Dad. I'm gonna actually mention those as well because I saw it probably just before the show. So yeah, we'll go over those ball games for sure. I'm super excited about those ball games, though. I mean, I feel like there are better options out there, but we're definitely going to talk about that. So to wrap up the NFL, guys, the Fins also won today, as I mentioned before in the overview, that all three teams in the Sunshine State were taking home W's here in the NFL today. This is only the second time I think that's happened all season long. As far as that with college sports, right? Because with college sports, of course, almost all of the teams won except for FSU losing to Florida, but that was 2 weeks ago. So this week they kind of couldn't lose, right? So keep that in mind. But with the Fins, right? So the Fins improved to 6-7. They're inching their way towards 500, trying to just figure out what they can do, what they still have left of this season and what they can make of it. They're doing pretty well, though, I have to admit. The win over the Jets was a good one, 32-26. Now the Jets are, 3-10, but I hold no reservations against Aaron Rodgers. He is A-Rod. The guy is just absolutely breathtaking. His prime was not to be played with, and I think that right now he's just starting to experience that age kind of creeping up on him, if you will. But I think that there's a lot that he has still left in him. I don't know if he's going to be able to bring it out, but obviously he looks like he still wants to play. So there's that. But Tua goes 33 of 47. He goes 331 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. This team is just different with Tua's in the lineup. There's no other way to say it. There's no other way to look at it, guys. This team is just completely different when Tua's in the lineup. He's done so well for them, especially over the last few weeks since his return from last concussion. And I gotta admit, he's definitely putting to rest a lot of ideals that he can't quarterback or that he can't stay healthy. Obviously, the healthy part, we're gonna have to wait to see if he makes it to the end of the season. I'm praying and hoping that he does. But again, when he's in the lineup, this team is a completely different team, and they play extremely well. The story of this game was him and his wide receivers connecting consistently throughout the game. You have Tyreek Hill, who goes 10 catches, 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Waddle goes 9 catches, 99 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but he did a lot. Between those two receivers, they go over 200 yards receiving with over 20 receptions, I believe that is as well. 19 receptions. So extremely good day for Miami. Really happy to see them find success, especially with Tua back in the lineup, like I said, and they're just going to have to continue that on to the next game. Next game doesn't get any easy. They're going to go see the 8-5 Texans, the team that's dominating the AFC South right now. AFC South is pretty bad, but at the same time, that record is not to be played with, and they made some noise last year. This team is still dangerous, and I look forward to seeing how this game goes. I wouldn't be surprised to see if it's a shootout as well. That game's going to be Sunday, December 15th, 1 p.m. So get ready for that game, guys. Get ready for actually a couple of good games next weekend. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to you guys. I'm looking forward to it. The Jaguars, real quick, just to go back on them, congratulations on stopping that 5-game losing streak with that W today against the Titans. I just want to mention that as well because it's just whenever you're losing like that, it always seems like it's never going to end, right? You just got to keep playing. And they were able to do that. So congratulations to all three teams here in the NFL coming out of the Sunshine State. Super proud of what they're able to accomplish today. And hopefully we see more of that moving forward where all three teams are able to be victorious. Victory Monday for the Bucs tomorrow. Can't wait to see that. And, hopefully we can just continue to roll down this hill and take our division by force if that's what it takes. So good job today, boys. Good job, Jazz. Good job to Fins as well. And with that being said, let's get into our first break of the evening, guys. We've covered NFL. We're going to get into college football after that. And then we'll wrap it up with the last few subjects that we have for this evening. I'll send you on your way with some food for thought, guys. Thank you for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Keep it locked here for 2 minutes and we'll be right back.
The light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Now we've covered the NFL. Let's jump on into college football, guys. That's what the orange and blue is for, the pillow. You guys know I love my Gators. And they ended the season on a great note. They defeated FSU 31-11. The game was a rivalry game. It was about what you would expect. Now, here's the deal. I want to go ahead and take this time to talk about one of the things that's been a hot topic, and that is the flag planting in the middle of the field, or whatever the celebration is during such a emotionally strong and emotionally charged week that is the rivalry week of college football. I've been watching college football for 26 years. Rivalry week has always been just that. It's been like getting ready to go to war, but in the dark ages, right? I mean, like Roman times, where like you can see the people you're about to fight. Like you can see their faces. You can see how their camp is set up and how they live their lives and things like you don't need to scout because you can see it. I've always thought that was something impressive that was taking place, like I said, early on in human history. And that was an example of what it was like to watch rivalry week back in the day and what it is to watch it now. I think that the flag planting, I don't really see much wrong with it. And the reason why I don't see much wrong with it is because realistically speaking, is it disrespectful? Sure. But losing is also disrespectful. It's disrespectful to your fans, to the people who support you. Now, I get it. You have to have a winner and a loser. But in a week like this, when it's rivalry week, it's definitely one of those things where I look at and I say, I'll give you an example, right? The Florida Gators and FSU. The Florida Gators planted a Florida flag in the middle of the FSU emblem on the field, right? And they didn't like that. Norv Turner didn't like, or not Norv Turner, but the head coach, Mike Norvell, did not like that. And he took offense to it and created a whole scene, right? So my rebuttal to that is last year when FSU defeated the Florida Gators, they cut out patches of the end zone, the Florida Gators end zone, where the Gator, the actual Gator is at. And, it was disrespectful, but what could we do? We lost. They're the better team. They run the show this year. That's just how that goes. And now that this year it took place like that, the reason why I think that it's fair is because obviously if one team does it, the other one should be able to do it first and foremost, right? In the interest of fairness. But the other issue there is the fact that you're being hypocritical. If you do, and then somebody else does it to you and you have a problem with it, maybe you shouldn't do it. It's the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. So in my opinion, I think that it's fair. I think that if you're, upset about it, that perhaps you should have played harder. You should have given more of what you guys had. You guys should have worked harder as a team. All of the above. I come from a teamwork background. I've played football. I was in the United States military. Everything we do is teamwork. Life is not a solo sport. Okay, it's not. It requires teamwork. It requires a village. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents into that, especially since that was such a raging topic, and everybody, you have all these people, these sensitive people who are crying and no, take it out of the game. Oh my, it's not good for the game. No, it is, because it's competition. It's not just the game, it's competition. And it's those who take it seriously that get the best results. That's why we continuously see the same teams at the top. These guys take it the most serious. That's what it comes down to. The Gators finishing their season 7-5. I don't think anybody saw that. I think some of us were hopeful for it, but I don't think anybody truly saw that, and in the bottom of their hearts really felt that was going to be the case. Not at least until DJ started quarterbacking. I think we all felt that with DJ quarterbacking that we definitely had a chance, regardless of how young he was or how he performed. But I have to say that man, he's Superman. He's the best thing that happened to Florida since Tim Tebow, and I literally cannot wait to see him perform next season. I think this guy is going to be the best quarterback in the country within a year or two, if not already. And I can't wait to see what he does with his career here at Florida and the players that come to play with him. He seems to have that Tom Brady effect, and I'm kind of getting a Tom Brady vibe off of him. And yes, I'm going to make that comparison because I am that impressed with his leadership, with his timing, with his poise, and with his maturity as a true freshman. Okay, so yes, I'm going to sing his praises, and I will continue to do so until he leaves the University of Florida and makes it to the NFL. Again, with that game against FSU finishes their season 2-10. They will not be going bowling. That is what it is for them, FSU. You guys are in a rebuild year. You lost a lot of guys to the transfer portal, but how could you after what happened with Georgia? And honestly, you guys all beat yourselves. When your quarterback got injured, there wasn't a whole lot that you guys could do about it, and unfortunately, that's basically what you guys are dealing with moving forward. You guys have to rebuild this program from the ground up, and it starts this offseason, period, the end. As far as the Gators are concerned, the recruiting for the University of Florida has gone crazy. For those of you who have not seen what's going on with the University of Florida, they've actually flipped 20 or 22% of the commits at FSU to Florida. They were able to get some blue chippers. They were able to get some real studs to make some commitments, and some guys that are actually definitely going to see some playing time, especially now that, we've been in a rebuild and we got our quarterback. Now we have our quarterback, we have our direction. And so with these wonderful receivers who are going to part ways with us, as we usher them into the NFL, we will be also ushering in these new players into the University of Florida. And I'm super excited about these commits for the 2025 season. And I can't wait to see how they pan out. The Florida Gators have now inched to the top 15. I believe they're actually top 10 recruiting class for 2025 season. Billy Napier's been wearing a lot of the sunglasses, and you guys know what that means. Whenever he got those on, he's got to commit, and it's a big one. So congratulations on the University of Florida for their ability to recruit and their ability to find talent that wants to play with the talent they have already recruited, which is a very, very important detail. That's something that we see a lot of players in the NFL take advantage of, and there are some players who have won Super Bowls because of it, like Odell Beckham Jr., and there are also players who have changed their careers around due to that, such as Matthew Stafford. So just take that in consideration. The transfer portal recruiting is a major part of success, and you have to fit in. You have to get in where you fit in and make it count, right? I think that's what really is the key. And I think that's what we're going to see here at the University of Florida. And I think we're going to continue to see that with the University of Miami, who we'll be talking about momentarily. But I also want to shine a light on the running backs for the Gators towards the end of the season, just playing extremely well, making it really easy for DJ Lagway to play at quarterback. DJ Lagway for that game against the Noles goes 14 of 22, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not a bad stat line, but the story of the game, like I said, was the Gator run game, which saw Montreal Johnson go 10 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown, and then Jaden Ball goes 11 carries for 81 yards. No touchdowns, but he did almost get into the end zone, in fact. Great game by our running backs. Great game by the defense, of course. And then, of course, the final game of the season that they'll be playing, because the Gators are going bowling with a 7-5 record, is going to be against Tulane. Tulane was a 9-4 team throughout the season and played extremely well. This was one of the teams that I thought it could be, although this wasn't one of my top teams, but they will be playing in the Gasparilla Bowl December 20th at 3:30 p.m. in Tampa. I might be going to that game. I think I'm going to that game, guys. How could I not? So my boys will be home in town, like I said, December 20th, 3:30 p.m. For the Gasparilla Bowl against 9-4 Tulane. I thought that the team that the Gators should play, I thought we had the perfect opportunity to renew a great rivalry in college football, a rivalry that you guys may not be realize that is a rivalry, but actually does have some serious games played against each other, would be Michigan. I would have loved to see the Gators versus Michigan again. We hooked it up a few years back, actually. The Gators were able to go home victorious in that game. It was a great game. Chancey Gardner Johnson had 2 interceptions in that game, and so that was the last time those two teams hooked it up. In fact, actually, so that was a really, really good game. But that's who I thought they should have played in their ball game. I also thought that South Carolina would be a great choice as well, due to the fact that the Gators and South Carolina did not play each other this year. And they have 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the country. So I thought that both of those would be amazing choices. But alas, we get Tulane, and I shall not cry about that. Larry, my man, it's good to see you, brother. And yes, of course, the jersey. I know. Listen, man, it was. Some people know me very, very well, and this was a very amazingly timed gift. So I'm going to have to put that on, and kind of rep my orange and blue as much as I can here, guys. But so, as much as I love to talk about the Gators, let's move on to the Canes. Like I said, we've said what we had to say about FSU already, so we're not going to go and dig much into there because there's nothing to talk about. They're rebuilding a program. But for the Canes, so the Canes are in a different area, right? So you guys may remember the Canes started this season 9-0, and then out of nowhere, just travesty, right? So it ended in travesty, unfortunately. The Canes end up losing to Syracuse, which, if you guys remember the show before that, the week before that game, I said this is not a team that Miami can lay down and think that they're going to take because they have a better roster. Syracuse has a great core. They have a great team, and they're very well coached right now. They're playing tremendous football out of the ACC, guys. I think that this was one of the teams that I didn't expect to do as well as they did, but I knew that they could perform as well as they did. I like Syracuse. I've actually followed Syracuse for about 16 years now. I like that program. Like I said, great core, well coached. Super proud of that Syracuse team. Miami, you guys dropped the ball. I think you guys were just looking past them. I think you guys were thinking if we win this game, we get a first round bye and we're just chilling. And no, you're not actually. Now things get really, really tough for you, or got tough for you. And as a result of that, you guys dropped to 10-2 on the season. You guys are now ranked 13th, which puts you right outside of that top 12, guys. So that loss really was a difference in you guys this season. And you guys definitely probably should have taken Syracuse much more seriously. That 42-38, that's a 4-point differential between being in the playoffs and not. Syracuse finishes the season 9-3. They're ranked 21. They're obviously going to go bowling. I really hope that they get a great ball. Now, Dad, you actually put the ball game in the chat, so I'm going to read that real quick. So Miami Hurricanes are playing Iowa State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl on December 28th at 3:30 p.m. So that's the same ball that I had for them. So yeah, we got the right thing there. I don't know how to feel about that. Iowa State played really, really good football this year, barring a few injuries to 2 different starters that they had. I think that team is pretty solid and has a great chance at beating Miami. I think this is the same thing that it was before. Miami cannot afford to lay down and think that because they have the on paper better quarterback that somehow they're just going to play better. They're going to have to get it in on all 3 facets of the game, and they're going to have to really take it to Iowa State because Iowa State will not lay down. I don't think that they will take a beating on their behinds, and I think that most of their seniors are going to start in that game. So that's going to be a huge game for Miami and for Iowa State, especially when you look at the next year that we're headed to. Just also take into consideration, guys, that Miami does have quite a few juniors and seniors on their teams with players like Xavier Pacheco, who's definitely going to declare and find a great home, be a great receiver for somebody. Just taking consideration that this Miami team may not be the team that you saw this year again next year. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it for college football, guys. And again, that's going to be the Pop-Tart Bowl that they're going to be in. I think this is the first time I've ever heard of it. I'm pretty sure it's been around a little bit longer than that, but it's the first time I've heard of it that way. But for those of you who didn't know, there's a ball game for damn near everything. So, and I love that because that's just more college football for us, right? Like they spoil us. So I love that. USF and San Jose State are going to play at the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve at 8 p.m. Aloha. That's going to be a fun game. Both of these teams actually have a lot more in common than you would expect. I think this is the team that I would have picked for USF. Can't wait to see it. let's just see how the Bulls do. I think they have a good chance in this game to win. They're going to have to play 4 quarters if they want to win. I think that if they do, that they win the game. Period. That's how that game goes. There ain't no magic cylinder about fixing that game, man. That's just how that game goes. Go Bulls. Go Bulls, guys. All right, let's go ahead and continue on to the NBA, guys. Let's talk about what's going on with the Miami Heat. So the Miami Heat rocking an 11-10 record. That's good enough for 6th in the East right now. They were beating the Cavs 73-64 last time I saw. It was about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. I was watching the game on my phone, but I can only watch it for so long until I can't watch it anymore, and that was kind of what was happening there. Heat are in an interesting place right now. They're 2-2 in their last 4 games. They're trying to get back to their winning ways, but they can't seem to stay healthy for one. And then also when they are healthy, which has only been a total of 5 games out of the season, if that. I mean, 5 games. I'm giving them too much right now. Probably about 3 games where they've been truly healthy throughout the season. The consistency is just not there because the injuries have been so many. So I think that it's really, really hard to develop a tried and true method of success when guys aren't available. And it doesn't matter how they're not available. Obviously, with injury, we understand, but there's still a job that has to get done. And I think Miami's kind of suffering from that experience that they're having right now with the injury bug. And it's been that way over the last 3 years for this team, NBA Finals and all. So I'm really saddened for how they're been playing, and I think especially with the injuries. But realistically speaking, I can't blame anybody for it. This team can make the playoffs, but the All-Star break is going to have to be a savior for them. That's the only way I can look at it. That All-Star break is going to have to do just tremendous numbers for them as far as getting healthy and just identifying who they want to be. Transition basketball has been sloppy at times. The 3-ball game it's up and down. So the inconsistency is there. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero were going off a little bit earlier today, but they're going to have to do that consistently, right? Like that. Let's just not like we don't know what the method is for success. They have to excel in transition. They have to do better on defense, and they've got to be better from the arc. Jimmy Butler's going to do what he does. You guys have plenty of talent around you, but you got to put it all together, guys. It's very simple. Just got to put it all together. So like I said, 2-2 over the last 4 games. The next team they're going to go see is going to be the Raptors. That's going to be Thursday, December 12th at 7:30 p.m. Guys, this team is 7-17. This is it could be a motivational momentum booster kind of game. I don't know. But I think that right now that Miami just needs to find a way to get to the All-Star break, get healthy, and get focused and get, just back into the game. It sounds so lackadaisical, but that's the truth to the matter. What's going on there in Miami. Orlando doesn't have that problem. Orlando is playing different type of basketball right now. Now, unfortunately, before I even talk about how well they've been playing, they're 2-2 in their last 4, but they have also been dealing with just as many injuries as Miami has. The difference is they just lost their second biggest star in Franz Wagner. This guy's just been literally developing in front of us over the last 3 weeks. Has been playing tremendous basketball ever since Paulo Banchero got hurt. The scoring and basically the production of this team has gone through Franz Wagner, and unfortunately now he's out indefinitely with a torn oblique. Torn obliques are a very messy kind of injury too, because you can give a minimum, but you can't really give a maximum. And so we know he's going to be out for a while, but the indefinite part is just that we don't even know what the minimum is going to be as far as the difficulty in the injury. Within the next day or two, we should have more information to shed a light. So hopefully next week I'll be able to answer that question about as what the timetable is. At least guesstimating would be concerned. But yeah, losing Franz Wagner right now, just massive blow to the Magic right now, especially if they were starting to get a little hot. Like I said, 2-2 over their last 4, but their record goes 16-9, which is good enough for 3rd place in the East right now. They're playing tremendous team basketball is what it comes down to. It's a very, very young team with a very, very big upside, and I love what they're doing. But again, can't stay healthy. Hopefully Paulo Banchero will be back in true basketball shape and ready to go and carry this team again. But Franz Wagner being out, just the huge detriment to this team is going to hurt a lot. Praying for a speedy recovery for him and hoping that he gets well soon. We will need him And I think that with him, again, we not only make the playoffs, we make a lot of noise. So, but I love what the Magic are doing. Their team basketball, some of the very best in the NBA right now. Watching that team has been a bit of a renaissance. They haven't looked this good in a very long time. So super proud of those guys, but hopefully they can get healthy sooner than later. The next game they're going to have is going to be against the Bucks. That's going to be Tuesday, December 10th at 7 p.m. The Bucks aren't playing basketball the way we expected them to this year. How could they? Their record goes 12-11, so they're struggling a little bit more, just barely keeping their head above the water. I think that the Magic can still win this game, but it's going to have to be determined by the available personnel and how they decide to play and how well they're coached during that game. And again, it sounds a bit lackadaisical, but with the injuries that they're facing, there's no recipe to success more so than teamwork. Keep the ball moving, play disciplined defense. Transition basketball is going to have to be major, especially when you're dealing with a team like the Bucks that can get inside and have a lot of range. Good luck, Orlando. You guys can do it. Hopefully you guys put a game plan together that's able to nullify that Bucks offense and you guys take home a W there. That's the only way I know how to look at that game, guys. But that's what's going on there in the NBA out of the Sunshine State. Like I said, both of these teams are playing, or they were playing currently. If you guys don't mind putting those scores into the chat, I'll definitely read those aloud. But like I said, the last time I saw those two games, the Heat and the Cavs were in the end of the third period or approaching the end of the third period and 6 minutes to go. And then it was halftime between the Suns and the Magic. I may have not mentioned that before, so I do apologize if I didn't. Really quickly, the Magic were playing the Suns. They're rocking a 12-10 record, and they were actually losing that game by 5. 62-57 was the last time I saw that score. So if you guys want to throw that into the chat, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's actually run over to the chat real quick and see what's going on there. All righty. So thank you, Dad. Actually, right on the money. I appreciate you. So Magic did beat the Suns 115-110. So that's good that they were still able to bring that out. That'll improve them over to 17-9. And so, yeah, that's really good. Good for them. Good job, boys. And then, Dad, if you don't mind, anybody else, it doesn't matter who, just throw that in the chat, guys, and I'll throw it out there again. But let's go ahead and get to our second break of the evening, guys. And then when we get back, we'll go ahead and close things out with college basketball in the NHL, and I'll send you on your way with some food for thought. I really appreciate you guys joining me here this Sunday evening over on Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Guys, keep it locked here for a minute, 30 seconds, and we'll be right back at you.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And just like that, we are back at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Dad's real MVP, so shout out to him for this. But as he has thrown into the chat, Miami was able to defeat the Cavs 122-113. Good job, boys. So with that being said, all of the teams in the state of Florida who have played on Sunday are victorious. Congratulations, state of Florida. Congratulations to all those teams who played today and were able to find success. I'm so proud of all of our guys. And hopefully we can duplicate this. Hopefully we continue to make this more of a trend moving forward, guys. I love to see the success. And it's really great for the state. It's really great for all the programs as well. So super excited about that. Guys, a team that's playing really, really well right now, as far as basketball is concerned, would be the Florida Gators college men's basketball team. This team is undefeated. 9-0 start the season. Playing great basketball. I've had the opportunity to watch 3 of the games so far. Most of the games happen actually while I'm at work, which is the main reason why I've struggled to watch them. But when I can watch, I love watching them throw the ball around. They look tremendous. This team is special. I love the personnel group. I love the mixture of offense and defense and two-way players that we have. And then, of course, the fact that we have 3 different guys that can take over the game at will, and that have been doing that all year long. So super excited for the Florida Gators basketball team as they beat Virginia 87-69 today. Virginia over there rocking 85-7 record. Again, the Gators are 9-0, ranked 13 nationally, good enough for ranked 13. Probably good enough to be better, but we'll see how that goes as we continue to ball this season. First in the SEC, which is a beautiful sight to see. I love to see it. Now, if only we can get our football team there, and we'll be sitting pretty right where we belong atop the SEC East. The next game for the Gators is going to be Arizona State. That's 8-1 Arizona State. Very dangerous team out there in the West. That game's going to be Saturday, December 14th at 3:30 p.m. I will be watching that game. I should be actually flipping between that game and some college football games, in fact. So looking forward to seeing that game. Looking forward to see our boys bring home another W against a really strong team as they continue to bolster their record as we get ready to head into the new year, into eventually March Madness. This Florida Gator team looking as good as it's looked in a couple of years. And I will say that the ball movement and 3-ball shooting has been the big difference for this team. Transition basketball is still pretty good when we have the ball. When we don't have the ball, we could be better. But aside from not turning the ball over much, as long as this team continues to communicate and find success at the 3-point line and in transition, this team will continue to be dangerous. And I think that we're going to make a lot of noise in March Madness. And I really hope that we can push it far into March Madness with this ball club. Of course, everybody's going to have to stay healthy. And if we can do that, we'll be good to go, guys. Knowles men's basketball, guys. Knowles men's basketball, they're rocking a 7-3 record right now, top half of the ACC. They lost to NC State yesterday, 84-74, guys. NC State rocking a 6-3 record. So these two teams, similar records. About what you'd expect from ACC showdown. Both of these teams leaving it all on the floor, unfortunately, for FSU. They just weren't able to close out against NC State. And like I said, anything goes in ACC basketball. Florida State's just got to get back on the horse and they got to continue to ride, right? They're not in a bad place. Like I said, 7-3 be the record. They're not in a bad place. They just got to continue to play ball. They've got to start to win out here in the ACC, though. They're not going to want to find themselves behind Clemson, who's playing tremendous basketball right now as well, and all of the other teams as far as the ACC is concerned, including NC State, who now owns the tiebreaker over them should they have the same records at the end of the season. So just take that in consideration as far as the ACC is concerned for college men's basketball. The next game for the Noles is going to be against Tulane. That's 4-6 Tulane, so this should be a winnable game on paper for them. Saturday, December 14th, 4:30 p.m. So that game is going to be an hour after the Gator game starts. I will not be watching that game because I'm going to be watching the Gator game. I might flip back and forth, but if there's college football, Gator game and college football in that order, and then FSU. Okay. I will be following it on the app, though. Always follow. I have them all on my ESPN app. I don't know about you guys, but I love to use that follow and the bell icon. I see everything when it pops up. I recommend that for you guys. If you don't use it, I love it. I use it. I always have the knowledge right when it happens, and that's the main reason why I like that. So just take consideration that even though I'm not watching the game, I am following. I do know what's going on. For the Canes, however, that game, I wanted to watch that Canes-Clemson game, but unfortunately the Canes are actually bad this year. They're rocking a 3-6 record. They really don't. They lost it. They had it a few years ago, and they lost it. This team is not who we thought they were going to be last year, and they're not doing it this year either, unfortunately. And the ACC right now being as good as it is, there's a buster call away from a team being eliminated from postseason play as far as March Madness is concerned, and you can already add Miami to that list. Clemson's playing tremendous basketball right now. They're rocking a 9-1 record. This team looks just as good as they do in football on the basketball court, maybe better. And I fully suspect that this team is going to make a deep run into the ACC championship and then, of course, into March Madness as well. I'm a huge fan of Clemson. I'm actually one of the colleges that I'm impartial to. So I'm glad to see that they're playing well, much to the dismay of the Canes. But the Canes are just going to have to find a way to figure it out and find some success moving forward because, unfortunately, like I said, their season is over, but that doesn't mean that their future is over. Clemson, on the other hand, like I said, rocking a 9-1 record. This team's playing tremendous basketball. They're sitting atop the ACC right now, and I think that this is going to be the team that might very well represent the ACC as long as they continue to play this way and don't beat themselves. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about Clemson, but for the Canes' next game, they will be going to see ranked 3 and undefeated 8-0 Tennessee out in the SEC. That game's going to be Tuesday, December 10th at 6:30 p.m., guys. That looks like it's going to be a really, really one-sided game. Tennessee's playing tremendous basketball right now inside the ACC, slightly ranked higher than the Gators, although that they haven't played each other yet. I fully suspect that the Gators versus Tennessee is going to be a fireworks of a game, and I hope to be able to watch that one. But for the time being, we're going to see Tennessee beat up on Miami, and like I said, Miami with identity issues on basketball. They don't really pose much of a threat to Tennessee. Tennessee's playing tremendous team basketball right now, and they're scoring at will against whoever they play. Team is one of the scary teams out there in college basketball right now, along with the Gators. So I'm looking for, like I said, for that matchup. But this one, no bueno. Tennessee rolls them. That's what I got going on there for college basketball, guys. Super excited about the Gators team, and of course the Noles they're playing relatively decent basketball, but the Canes continue to go downhill from last year to this year, guys. Bolts hockey. This is a team that seems to have done the opposite. They're turning it around. The Bolts playing tremendous hockey as of late. They score a win against the Canucks. 4-2 be the score of that game. Canucks were rocking a 14-8-4 record. The Bolts rocking a 14-9-2 record, good enough for fourth place in the Atlantic. And for the Bolts, it was a struggle, right? They were looking at 500 in the face, and now they're starting to pull away and really find some success, find their footing. Again, now we're featuring the best goalie in hockey, I think, in my opinion. And we've seen that lately. We've seen that as we've been able to outrun other teams, and the perfect example here today against the Canucks. So congratulations to the Bolts on the victory there. The next game for the Bolts is going to be against the Oilers. That's a 15-10 team right there. They're playing pretty good hockey out there in the West, and I think that this game will be a pretty evenly matched game. I think the Bolts come out with the win. I think they're riding the momentum. I'm going to say 3-1, 3-2, 3. I think 3 is good enough to win this game. And I think that game will pretty much just be hinged off of who can score off the power play. I'm a huge believer in power plays. I play, for those of you who are familiar with the card game Yu-Gi-Oh!, I play it competitively. And one of the ways that you can gain advantage over your opponent in that card game is with hand or field advantage, right? So we have what's called one card combos, and that's an example of what I mean. In hockey, that's what you might call a power play. Having the ability to go numbers on your opponent and let math start doing math things, that's always a recipe for success, and I think that that's going to be the main difference for this team. We have great defense. We've always had great defense. We know how to pass the puck. We're not selfish. We have some scores, of course, and we have, again, the best goalie in hockey. So now we, again, got to put it all together. And when the Bolts do that, they find success. I think that's what's going on here, and I think they continue to find that success against the Oilers, and I think they bring home that W. I say 3-2 is the score of that game, and I'm looking forward to see how it goes, guys. Now, 3-1 over the last 4. This team is catching fire at a great time, and let's just hope they can hold on to that fire. And if they continue to do so, they'll be right in the thick of it when the playoffs roll around and have the opportunity to not only make the playoffs, but again, make some noise. Our boys are playing really, really well. Hope they keep it up. May get into the top 10 this week, 11 at worst. True. We'll see what happens there. Yeah, I caught that. I caught the Gators. Yeah. Yes, Panthers and Bolts both playing great hockey. Dad, you segued right into exactly what I was thinking. Along with the Bolts, the Panthers are playing great hockey. Your defending Stanley Cup champions returning back to form. They're 5-1 over their last 6 games, and that includes a win against the Sharks, a 3-1 victory that scored that game. It was the Sharks rocking a 10-15 record, much to the dismay of the 17-9 Panthers, who are ranked 1 in the Atlantic. With both of our teams playing tremendous hockey right now, a lot to be excited for, especially given that the Panthers are defending Stanley Cup champions. And as I've said, it looks like they've returned to form, 5-1, as I mentioned before, in their last 6 outings on the ice. Super proud of both of these teams and what they've been able to accomplish, and I fully suspect that it will continue to go on. I think that right now it's just a little early still to try and put labels on what teams do what, but I think again if the both teams can play this well, especially with them stepping up tremendously on defensive side of the puck for both of these teams over the last few games, that they will continue to find success over into the postseason. I look forward to seeing both these teams make it, and hopefully we get to see them play each other again. I'm always a fan when those two teams get to hook it up. I think they're the two best teams at least at any given time. So just take that in consideration whenever the postseason comes around. You heard it here first, folks. I want to say thank you so much for joining me here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. It's always a pleasure to get to bring this information to you guys on a weekly basis, and I look forward to giving it to you again next week. For this week, guys, I want you guys to really jump into the family holiday spirit, guys. I'm a huge family guy. As we near Christmas time, I am broke from Christmas shopping. I will be broke next paycheck from Christmas shopping. I'm super excited for this year. I really hope that everybody enjoys their gifts, but more importantly, I hope that we enjoy each other's time and enjoy the fact that we have each other still. There are a lot of families out there that are missing, that are hurting this holiday season. And if that's you, I lift prayers up for you. If it's not you, hold on to your loved ones and people you're closest to tight. I personally can't wait to see my son open up his gifts. He's spoiled. It's my boy. What do you expect, right? But I hope you guys enjoy your holidays. I hope you enjoy Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys have a wonderful work week as we get back into the flow of things Monday morning. I'll be back out there, same as you guys, and I will be back here, same time, same place next week, Sunday evening at 9 p.m. to bring you Florida sports here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and it has been brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a wonderful week, you guys, and I will see you here, same time, same place next week. Take care. Peace.